Diana Oreto is the head of GSMI and Research at the Global Blockchain Business Council. She is also co-author of a book, Transparency in ESG and the Circular Economy. And she's also senior contributor for Forbes covering central bank digital currencies and stablecoins. In addition to having published industry research and best practices for various topics related to digital assets, including market integrity and crypto trading platforms, market infrastructure, and decentralized finance. So Diana joins us now for the Markets on Chain series brought to us by the Global Blockchain Business Council. So great to have you here because I've touched so many companies in the council, and a lot of them have been talking about this GSMI, Global Standards Mapping Initiative. And this is really your project, right? So
yes, I've been running it for a couple of years. And as the Global Standards Mapping Initiative, which we obviously called GSMI on a day-to-day basis, I basically sit at the intersection of regulators, banks, and crypto-native institutions. And my role is essentially to help translate what regulators need to see, what institutions are worried about, and how on-chain systems actually work in order to better create bridges across different stakeholders. And this translation layer is what allows institutions to actually enter into digital asset markets more confidently and ultimately support scale. So I want to highlight the ultimate outputs of GSMI, which we release once a year. It provides a set of open source resources on key themes in the space. So this is meant to keep the industry up to date on the most important themes across blockchain and digital assets. And this includes trends in legislation and regulatory developments, taxonomy, technical standards, and industry stakeholder landscape, education, where courses and degree programs are being offered across accredited educational institutions, and in-depth reports and visuals on key themes. So in the latest iteration, which is the 6th yearly iteration, we just released a set of 7 reports and 5 landscapes, which you can access among other past resources that we've provided at gbbc.io/GSMI. I run multi-stakeholder working groups throughout the year across various topics, and they identify open questions that the industry still needs to address and industry recommendations. And this is obviously meant to support organizations like exchanges, custodians, and institutional trading platforms to make informed decisions to contribute to greater trust in the space.
Okay, I see you as the glue among a lot of different stakeholders in this is what you're doing. So what is the importance of standards in blockchain and the digital asset space? Why do we need this?
Well, standards are very important. Nobody necessarily talks about them on a day-to-day basis, but underlying the developments in this technology, standards provide common guidelines based on agreed upon rules and definitions, which provide quality benchmarks for the space. Standards ensure the functionality of a technology as well as market grade interoperability. And as such, this helps different players in the space to work together reliably and at scale for institutions. Standards finally can inform product and architecture decisions, and standards can reduce operational and integration risk. As legacy systems integrate with blockchain-based systems, we need common rules for harmonization. And ultimately, standards may even precede regulatory developments by providing information on regulatory expectations and risk management frameworks. Now, here I want to highlight that our technical standards working group produced 2 important outputs. The first is a comprehensive landscape of technical standards bodies covering over 100 global bodies that are working toward advancing standards in blockchain and digital assets. And this includes their roles, their interactions among each other, and the final outputs that they produce. And this can be considered institutional grade intelligence, technical intelligence, that can provide an analytical map for organizations to navigate. We also produce an expert commentary on the complex process to develop globally recognized standards and also the process to comply with globally recognized technical standards in blockchain technology. And I am proud to say that this work was one of the key foundational items that supported GBBC's approval as a Category A liaison organization at the International Standards Organization, ISO, where moving forward, we will have a role in developing internationally recognized standards and work alongside government organizations, national representations, and expert organizations. Underlying standards, finally, I want to highlight the importance of common understandings and taxonomy. Taxonomy is key for reducing ambiguity in the way we work together, reducing risks, and supporting regulatory compliance. We have a taxonomy working group that has also mapped and analyzed over 400 key terms and a landscape of definitions for each, and working toward further harmonizations alongside technical standards.
I mean, that's what you need for such a burgeoning industry. Make sure everybody knows what everything means and we're all on the same page. So I want to ask you about a couple of trends in the space. So let's start with digital money. What are you seeing? You're kind of on the ground floor. What are you seeing with that?
Digital money is probably one of the major use cases for institutional adoption right now. We have a digital money working group where I had the pleasure of collaborating with co-chairs from JP Morgan, Connexus, and Ripple. And we were able to assess the landscape of blockchain-based digital money models, including stablecoins, central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, and deposit tokens. And through that, we were able to identify key players and their roles, including VASPs, virtual asset service providers, and the role of on and off ramps along the way. We provided an end-to-end view of the payment process in specific, and we found that as risk mitigation measures are put in place, as standards and regulatory requirements are adhered to, the process to create a payment and process a payment comes to converge with traditional systems and blockchain-based digital money. So with this working group, we were able to frame how these digital money constructs can interact with traditional rails and inform strategic decisions around institutional and large-scale adoption. The recommendations that came from that set of conversations include basically the importance of harmonizing regulatory frameworks to promote seamless global payments and fungibility across different forms of digital money, and clarifying requirements for on and off ramps in order to pave the way for a future that will be multi-rail.
Okay. And then let's talk about another big trend, tokenization. I mean, that's been absolutely huge lately. Of course, the New York Stock Exchange just announced a program to tokenize. So what are you seeing on the ground floor?
Absolutely. There's so much activity going on right now around tokenization. With the working group, I had the pleasure to collaborate with co-chairs from Accenture, Moody's Ratings, and Zodiac Custody, where we were able to, again, assess the landscape of asset tokenization and underlying custody models, which are very important, going hand in hand. We provided a step-by-step view of how tokenization happens, the process in which real-world assets, financial securities come to be represented on a blockchain. And for each step of the way, we identified the key business value considerations, the key risk considerations, and the key regulatory and standards requirements in order for adoption to take place in a harmonized and institutional friendly way. It is important, I want to highlight, for real world tokenization use cases to be connected to financial market structures in reality. So our recommendations from that set of conversations include the importance of common standards for token minting and activities like collateral requirements, the importance of consistent regulatory and compliance and risk mitigation measures, the importance of ecosystem development continuously, and right now, especially the importance of leadership engagement to make tokenization a priority such that dedicated resources can be allocated toward projects like this. Okay. And I look forward to seeing what happens with the New York Stock Exchange.
Oh, I think it's very exciting that it's been kind of cutting edge and they're doing this. So how do you provide a resource to address challenges to institutional adoption and scale, especially when it comes to regulation?
Regulation can be seen often as a big hindrance toward institutional adoption when there is regulatory uncertainty. At GBBC, we have produced a first of its kind interactive regulatory map that can basically map regulatory uncertainty as market data, which is very exciting. This regulatory map includes over 4,000 regulatory developments around the world, from national laws to state-level priorities and policy frameworks. And we prioritize access to the primary resource. So you get the actual statute, you get the actual announcement, the actual circular, and so on, from 230 plus jurisdictions around the world. We also have a search function where you can find regulatory developments by jurisdiction, by key issue, by type of government body, type of action, and status. And we found that the top themes for regulatory developments around the world include actions toward regulatory frameworks, include consumer and investor protections, digital money, again, as a big trend, financial services and infrastructure, and financial surveillance, AML, CFT, and security measures. The value of a tool like this can be to support faster risk assessments and benchmarking lessons learned across different jurisdictions, better policy interpretation, more informed go-to-market strategies, and greater understanding of emerging trends and obligations.
Okay. And then finally, where do you see the most exciting use cases in blockchain as we head into 2026, and how will GSMI address these topics?
This is a very exciting time in this country and around the world as regulations are evolving clearly to support the space and growth and adoption. And institutions, major institutions and industries are taking this much more seriously to make this a key part of their business strategy. So I want to say I'm excited to see how the existing use cases will continue to evolve as industry, financial institutions, and on-chain systems will continue to integrate, and on-chain activities like DeFi, and the boundaries between those systems will converge. My goal is to illustrate how crypto-native activity can be better integrated into institutional grade frameworks for activities like payments, custody, trading, and compliance practices, and ultimately help organizations like banks, financial institutions, asset managers, market operators better engage with digital assets more confidently, safely, and at scale. I see the value of blockchain technology really revolves around trust. So having greater trust in our society, in our systems, and in our financial system can be a huge opportunity for all of us.
Yeah, no, it's very exciting on a lot of different levels to see all this. So Diana, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jane. It's been a pleasure.